When you think of the best Cartoon Network show, what pops into your mind? I mean, aside from Mike Luanog, because, let's face it, that's cheating. As we've previously determined in this video right here. But aside from Mike Luanog, or as I call it, the pinnacle of human greatness, the best Cartoon Network show could arguably be something like Adventure Time, or Regular Show, or Gumball, or whatever this is. Personally though, I'd have to say that it's Ed, Edd, and Eddy. Now I know that's a safe choice, but it's a safe choice for a reason. This show is really freaking good. Of course, all the reasons why it's so good have been hammered into the ground for who knows how long. So I'm not necessarily gonna discuss that here today. I'm gonna talk about something entirely different. Objectively speaking, who is the best Ed? I've just gone through a ton of episodes of this show, and I've come up with a firm conclusion. So let's take a look at which one's the best. Is it Ed, Edd, or Eddy? Well, I hate to give away the ending right in the beginning, thereby making it not the ending, but the beginning. It really depends on what you're looking for because each of the Eds offer something unique for a completely different audience. If you like the wacky screwball characters who are a laugh a minute, then you're gonna like Ed the best. Ed is a complete marvel. He is the typical stupid idiot character who can't get anything right, but he's never annoying. He's always endearing and basically always funny. And for years, I've been trying to figure out why exactly that is. How can Ed work when the likes of, say, Cosmo and the later Fairly Odd Parents, or any of these characters on screen, all fail? Well, I think I finally figured out the reason after all this time, and it's because there's a logic to Ed's stupidity. He's not so much dumb, okay, well he is dumb, but it kind of comes from him still being a little kid at heart. He loves nothing more than TV and junk food and not being clean. Everything that a stereotypical little boy loves, Ed loves, and then some, like chicks.
Ed's been holding out on us! Chicks galore, huh?
All of the little silly things that Ed says like,
Those aren't rabbits, those are bunnies!
Or the classic,
I'm a woodpecker! Except with dirt.
Those all come from a state of childlike innocence. So Ed's a lot more than the comic relief of the show, he's the soul of the main trio. Whenever Eddy's being nasty and greedy and Double D's yapping about whatever, Ed's always there to lighten the mood because he doesn't know any better, that's kinda what he does. Life is supposed to be one big thrill that always puts you in your happy place. And if it doesn't, well then panic ensues. Personally speaking, I really wish a lot more idiot characters would be like Ed. They can be stupid, they can be silly, they can cause some trouble, but they have to have a reason for it. Otherwise, they're like, say, Captain Hero and Drawn Together Season 3 where, her-de-dur, he's stupid, and that's all there is. That's why we're able to care about Ed, and that's why he's the best choice for someone who's more comedically minded. When you're the best in your field, you're gonna get recognized for it. Luckily, Ed has gotten all the attention he deserves and more. And if you want to know how he turned out this way, blame his parents. He says so. I don't know if this is still a thing, but one of the main complaints that cartoon reviewers would throw out in the early to mid 2010s is that something is mean-spirited or nasty or something like that. I don't really think people say that anymore, because it's kinda gotten old and it's a blanket term and, you know, that's not really what this video's about. But that got me thinking. In a world where people are so concerned with something seeming mean-spirited or vile, they need somebody to root for. They need somebody to relate to. Otherwise, it's all gonna crash and burn. That's why there was such a big outrage against the episodes of SpongeBob seasons 6 through 9. I mean, yeah, we had Squidward, but we always knew that he was just gonna get kicked around for no good reason. If you want to see the seasons 6 through 9 Squidward done right, then look no further to our next Ed, Double D. Double D caters more towards the crowd that wants to root for somebody. Whether it be the underdog or an upstanding character or the voice of reason, if you want to root for a character to come out on top, even if you don't really believe that they're gonna do it, then Double D is the one for you. What I like about Double D is that even though he objects to a lot of what Eddy does and to some of what Ed does, he's still their good and loyal friend. He's not gonna give up on them for better or for worse. In fact, they probably wouldn't get anywhere without him. Another thing that sets him apart is that no matter how badly Eddy treats him, he's not scared of him. Never. He's not really intimidated in the slightest. He's able to give wisecracks and sarcastic comments right back at him. That level of equal footing helps make Double D who he is. Otherwise, he'd be just another Squidward or Meg Griffin, a beaten down whipping mule who never gets what they want and never succeeds. Who wants to watch a character like that? But of course, I have to address the elephant in the room. The fact that half the time, even though he doesn't really do anything wrong, Double D gets punished along with Eddy and Ed. One of the main examples of this is the episode For Your Ed Only. For context, Eddy ends up stealing Sarah's diary and reads through it. Meanwhile, the rest of the cul-de-sac kids are desperately trying to get it back. As expected, Double D wants to bring it back like any good Samaritan would do. But of course, he's the one who gets caught with the diary. So he, Ed, and Eddy are all stuck in this giant pile of gum in Ed's room. Along with Johnny and Plank, but that's a completely different story that we're not going to go over here. Or how's about the infamous, if it smells like an Ed? Despite the fact that Eddy was the one who gave Jimmy the wedgie, Double D and Ed are punished alongside Eddy. But I also feel the need to say that, yes, a lot of the time Double D's punishments are deserved. One little touch I do like though is that even though he does go along with Eddy's schemes, sometimes he has a little bit of a different angle. Like in Wish You Were Ed when Rolf wants to go back to his home country, Double D fully goes along with Ed's scam and even does take money from Rolf. Though, admittedly, the main reason he did go along with it in the first place was to not only help Rolf feel better, but also to indulge in the homeland culture. Or there's Fa La 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 Ed, where he almost breaks Jimmy's piggy bank and steals the money, then feels terrible about it for the rest of the act. Ed probably wouldn't know what he was doing, and Eddy's just Eddy. So in scenarios like these, it's always good to have someone with not just a brain, but a heart as well. Man, the Tin Man and Scarecrow must really hate this guy. Then that brings us to Eddy. How could somebody possibly think that Eddy was the best character in the show? How can Eddy be someone's favorite Ed? Well, let me tell you, because he's personally my favorite Ed. Eddy is for people who like to dissect characters. Eddy is probably the most complex character in the entire show. Though that's not saying much given the fact that there's no real deep backstories in here and there's, 9 characters in the show in total. Unless you count Wilfred, but that's cheating, he's god tier. Eddy is a guy who just wants to feel like he belongs. He wants to seem big, tough, and important like his older brother. But in doing so, he goes a little bit too overboard and scares most everybody away. Unless you're a canker or your name is Ed, you're gonna want to stay as far away from Eddy as possible. And he knows it. Even so, he doesn't want it to be evident that it bothers him, so he tries to put on a mask. Again, and again, and again. Now looking back after watching Big Picture Show, whenever I see Eddy act out, I more see him as a guy who's pretending to be a big shot rather than someone who actually is one. Despite all the yelling and abuse and greed, he's just a sad, lonely, hurting man. Even though he pushes Ed and Double D around, they still mean a lot to him. He's just got a short fuse, so he can't really show it so easily. Yeah, Eddy can be obnoxious and unpleasant sometimes, but he always gets what's coming to him. And besides, when you consider the deeper character within, it makes it a lot more fun. So if you like to, quote-unquote, do your homework while you watch the show, this is the perfect character for you. He's someone to dissect and pick apart. As you do so, your understanding of him grows and therefore your connection to him does alongside it. Once again, he pales in comparison to Wilfred. Wilfred makes the show. Him and Plank. Those two are unstoppable. How come we never got that spin-off? I would have loved to see the Wilfred and Plank adventures. Come on, make it happen. In all seriousness, I think I've just about covered everything I can here. If you want a lovable character who's gonna make you roll on the floor laughing, Ed is your guy. If you want someone to root for when the going gets tough, then you gotta go with Double D. But if you're the kind of person who likes to pick apart a show and analyze every single little piece until reality breaks, then the choice is clear. Eddy is the one for you. So comment below and let me know which Ed you think is the best. What kind of viewer are you? And you too want to see the Wilfred and Plank adventures like everybody else does? Maybe sometime I'll talk about the other characters of Ed and Eddy, but probably not. There's not really much to go off of with them, and there's so many other ideas we have. Still though, it was nice to talk about this amazing show, and do it in a way that I don't think anyone else has done before either. So, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you guys next time.